The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has told the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal that it has no server to be inspected by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and its candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, over the conduct of the February 23 presidential polls. Now, the PDP had previously filed for an application seeking to access and to inspect the server and data of smart card readers used by the electoral body in the conduct of the elections. Joining me to discuss this is, once again, our political analyst, Ugochukwu Ikako. Ugo, this could be two things. INEC might not be saying they do not have a server. It could also be that they do not have a server that the PDP can inspect. But tell me what you think. When you first heard this story, INEC saying, the electoral umpire of a country saying they have no servers. Or maybe they don't have servers for the PDP to inspect.
I feel like, first time I heard this story, my first reaction was that we should gather all of them together, right? And if not possible, just send them to Krikri.
Why would you do that?
I just feel like it's not, that's how I feel. Even that's not the right thing to do.
Why do you think that INEC should be sent, or the officials should be sent to prison? They say they don't have a server.
Because the truth is this.
Couldn't it be possible? It's
not possible. It's laughable. And believe me, it's shocking. That's the best way to put it, like to say it in a very way that so you don't say something that is wrong. Like, it's shocking, all right? Because prior to the election proper, countless number of times, the INEC chairman, Professor Yakubu, was on television, live television. All right, it was recorded. He said a couple of times. The videos are all over the internet. All right, saying that the card reader will be used to transmit results from the polling unit straight to the back room, whatever INEC called it at that point. So for INEC to come out, this is June. It's 3 months after the election, to tell us there is no server anywhere again in this world. That must be like the ninth word of the world.
Could it also be that the server that they were using for the elections were temporary? They borrowed it from some data back. This is me trying to make sense of it. Could it be that it was borrowed servers and they've handed it over?
Even if they borrowed it from someone, all right, let's work with the assumption. Even if they borrowed it from someone, all right, the data at the end of the day is still there. Right? The information is still there. So can they just be kind enough to get the information back?
Why would it still be there? If they're done with what they wanted, they collated the results, they wipe it clean and give back the servers.
They're not supposed to wipe it clean, right? Because these are the information of the country.
What law stops them from wiping it clean, especially if the servers didn't belong to them? Again, this is a make-believe. We're just painting a scenario here.
And that scenario, if you ask me again, and I will tell you, is flawed, all right? Because remember again, let me take us back. One of the INEC Resident Electoral Commission, Mike Igini, right? I think he was in either Akwa Ibom or Bayelsa State. He served in one of these states during the election. I remember him saying clearly, I watched that on television, on live television. He talked about how the result will be transmitted from the polling unit straight. All right, that's talking about the presidential result, straight to INEC main office. He now said something like, for example, because that's why INEC had like 2 collation officers. So, but I voted. All right, when you come, they swipe the card, all right, to check whether you've been registered truly or whether you are there to use somebody's card to vote. Before they will now rub that blue ink on your thumb.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, so how possible is it that if they swipe my card, that means if there is no data, if there is no backroom, if there is no cloud that stores this information, the moment they wipe my card, the card will not say anything. Because that card has been programmed. Everything has been done in a very systematic way that it gives this information back.
So, but maybe what they have is a data bank that has information of registered voters and not votes. According
to Mike Igini, all right, who works for INEC, who was REC, Resident Electoral Commissioner, and this is the top-ranking official for INEC, said this, and even Professor Yakubu said it as well. And I remember some of the videos we watch about how the voters process would work and everything, and how it transmits the results straight to Abuja. So, for example, Mike Igini said, the moment, all right, you voted, this goes straight. So when they're done with the election and they've completed everything, all right, and check the result, all the party agents know, let's say, for example, maybe Party A, you know that you have 20 votes, Party B, you have 30 votes, Party Z, you have 9 votes. Already, even if it moves from here, from let's say from VI to Yaba, and changes that result, right, that result is invalid because of what the card user has sent already. So if he's moving from, for example, from this polling unit, which is in VI, to the main office in Yaba, he's expected, because of how the system was meant to work, he's expected to come back with the same thing that the card is saying. That is the card, the result, the vote that has been stored in the cloud. So this information is somewhere. So the question should be, why is INEC not ready to bring it out?
I want to give you just an insight into what INEC said. So INEC said the servers from which the said figures were derived belong to the first respondent, INEC. The figures and the votes were transmitted to the first respondent's presidential results server 1 and thereafter aggregated in INEC Press RSLT server 2019, whose physical address or unique MAC address is 9457 A5DC 64B9 with Microsoft product ID 00, it's a long one. Now, these descriptions are unique to the 15th respondent server. Atiku and his party actually claim that this is what the server where the results came from. But then, INEC is saying that the inspection of the server and data was necessary, but there was no server. So, one would wonder, where did PDP get this information, this INEC Presidential Results Server 2019?
Remember, all right, before the election was announced, the result was announced in Abuja, all the party agents were with the INEC chairman in Abuja. Some of them had access to some of this information, right? Because the parties themselves, the NGOs and the international organizations that were involved in the election, all of them were carried throughout this process. So for you to change your opinion after 3 months, it doesn't all go well for our democracy. It doesn't all go well for us. Because at the end of the day, there's something that I would say casually, the internet never forgets. So this information is somewhere in the cloud. The question is, why is INEC having challenges giving us back our information, right? Because this is not INEC's property. This belongs to Nigerians. And if Nigerians say that, okay, today we want to check to see whether the vote that we had truly is the same thing that because the issue is this. See, the interesting thing is this, right? The voters card registered all the people that voted. So, for example, let's say that the voters card, okay, already said that it's 15 million people. That's the 15 million Nigerians that the voters card captured. And already, INEC result at the end of the day maybe 19 million voters. So the question will be, INEC will not, the onus will not be on INEC to prove where they got the remaining 4 million. So it is important for us. This is not about Atiku, right? This is not about PDP. This is not about anybody, right? Whether Atiku wins or not in the court, the most important thing that we need to see, the sanctity of this process is supposed to be preserved. All right. So what INEC is doing at this point does not make sense because the reallocation for this, INEC themselves, Professor Yakubu said as well before the election day that this information has been stored in the cloud, in the server, and the rest of them. Mike Igini, INEC Rec, said the same thing. We saw videos, all right, of how to use the card reader. And he said the same thing. So I don't understand how they wake up and change their mind 3 months after the election, unless INEC is hiding something. And the best thing that the PDP will do for themselves and Atiku and his lawyers is to go to court and let the court decide. And I'm sure that INEC will
Talking about the courts, the INEC's counsel, Yunus Usman, senior advocate of Nigeria, actually was the one who vehemently opposed the application for the inspection of the server. He said that the application should be dismissed because there is no server. So where do you want us to get this information if we don't have a server? Where did you get your information? And where did you get that? I'm tempted to
ask Mr. Usman, whatever his name, all right? I'm tempted to ask him whether he's a lawyer, whether he's true to his conscience.
Well, he's doing his job.
Right? It's not about doing your job, all right? It's not about doing your job. You know, so sometimes people say this and say, okay, I'm just doing my job, but it doesn't make sense in any way. It's very, for example, so I want to paint an analogy, but I just let this slide. If INEC said, right, Professor Yakubu said this thing, right, as I'm mentioning the name, so it's not like I heard it from my neighbor or I heard it from the guy down there at the junction in Obalende. Mike Igini, the INEC Rec. So two of them, these are authorities on this on election matters in Nigeria, said this thing prior to the election proper. It's on the internet. People can check it. So why would not INEC not send a lawyer to come and tell us something different. It does not make sense. See, whether Atiku wins or not in the court is immaterial at this point. The most important thing is that this process everything should go smoothly. Well, the sanctity of this process is very, very important. So what INEC is saying, INEC is hiding something. There is something in the cupboard.
Why do you think INEC would be hiding anything? Because, I mean, especially for an issue as big as this.
You know why I think they're hiding something? For
an issue such as this, because there are people who are still asking questions. I saw on social media people were asking, how can INEC not have servers? But then it is possible.
No, it's not possible. Every information, see, because the lead, never forget, is in the cloud.
The lead counsel to President Buhari, Wole,
if he has a Facebook account, he knows that all the information he posted over the last few years is online.
The counsel said that they also made a similar argument opposing the application for inspection. Alhaji Atiku told the tribunal that it lacked jurisdiction to overrule itself, while Fagbemi urged the panel to be wary of making an order that it is not capable of enforcing because INEC had no server. In other words, even if you give this ruling, there is no server. There's absolutely nothing to inspect.
PDP said something about Microsoft, right? Because that
yes,
means
they did. They said
that means INEC.
These were servers that belonged to INEC, and it was tagged INEC Presidential Results Server 2019
with Microsoft.
Yes.
Right, so that means
with the Microsoft product ID number.
So INEC had a partnership with Microsoft. That's from what we can see there. So it means that even if INEC does not have this information, that their partners or whoever they worked with in the process of giving us an election, the February-March election, has this information. So if they cannot provide it, they should send us to where we can get this information. That's my own. So they cannot come and tell us.
INEC is still saying they have no server.
No, INEC has changed his mind on this.
If they don't have a server,
Professor Yakubu,
what are they going to be sending you
Professor
to Microsoft?
Yakubu said in February-March, that INEC has server. Professor Yakubu said that all the vote that we did electronic, I voted, all right, that it will register straight to the collection to the data room in Abuja, all right? The same thing that Mike Igini said. Mike Igini is reg, either in Akwa Ibom or Bayelsa. So what I'm saying is this: if these people have come out to make this position clear before the election proper, are you trying to? I see. Is the INEC chairman and reg? So it's not like
moving forward because this case has been adjourned until June 24 okay. For another hearing, of course. But what does this mean, or what does this say in the future for our electioneering process? Because we just celebrated June 12, and it is predicated on free, fair, and credible elections, and of course, courts rulings and court cases that surround election tribunals, etc., etc.
It shows that INEC is not true to his mandate, and it's sad. Right? INEC is supposed to conduct free and fair election at every point, be it local government election, that's the state INEC offices, and be it state, be it the federal-wide election. It's supposed to conduct free and fair election, right? And if INEC conducts an election and the people come and they say, okay, these things didn't go out well, right? He's supposed to give an account of what he did. It's like asking somebody, I gave you money to go and buy something from me from the market in Surah or somewhere, and you come back. I said, okay, Oga, I gave you 5,000 to buy something. Can you please give me an account of what you did? And you're not telling me that you used 3,000 naira for transport. Where? Are you going to heaven? So it does not make sense. So at this point, INEC is trying to rubbish our democracy. You cannot celebrate June 12th. And we're talking about a free and fair election. This election, 2019 election, was focused on using card readers. And the card readers does not store in the stream or somewhere. It stores in a cloud. So there is an information somewhere. So my own is that INEC is hiding something and is left for the court to show themselves here and to say, okay, INEC, there is a mandate for you to have done, you've conducted this election, all right, and this information, provide information. So I want to believe, all right, I want to believe that the court will do their job without any interference. Whether Atiku wins or not, the most important that INEC is supposed to provide this information. Professor Yakubu said it before the election, Mr. Igini said it before the election. So what are they waiting for? You see, if anything that INEC is, they're compromised. And that's
what role should Nigerians be playing in all of this? I know it's Party A versus Party B.
No, it's not Party A versus Party B.
We all have the president already inaugurated, but then this is the Independent National Electoral Commission. Should Nigerians be worried about this?
No, nobody is bigger than our democracy.
Of course. So where do we come in? Should we be worried about this, or is it just
Nigeria should be worried, all right? There are avenues to have conversation, all right, or social media and everything. Ask questions, bombard them, all right? If they're saying that this information is not there, he said, okay, sorry, we agree with you. They say it's not there. Then let's bring out the information that they gave us prior to the election, the interviews, all right? These are the things that you said, Professor Yakubu. These are the things that Mr. Guinness said. These are the videos that we watched before the election. Well, some of us voted in this election. So what are you now trying to tell us? So this is time for Nigerians to play their role of being active citizens. It's not about Atiku, right? Whatever happens after the whole court process, one thing is sure, it will strengthen our democracy or it will make our democracy weak. And the most important thing is Nigeria's democracy, which is bigger than anybody, which is bigger than the president, which is bigger than the judiciary. It's about our democracy. Democracy is the most important thing. So all the institutions of government, be it the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, the most important thing, all of them should work together is to make sure that our democracy is strengthened. All right. So INEC themselves has a key role in making sure that our democracy is strengthened in performing their duty. So for them to come out and say this thing does not make sense. It does not make sense. So Professor Yakubu already has shown us that it does not have integrity prior to conducting the election.
Well, you can't really say that because this case is still in court. You can't really draw a conclusion for a matter that is still being heard.
It's not about, there's a court of public opinion. And already the court of public opinion has found him wanting, right? Because he cannot say something 2-3 months ago.
Did he categorically say?
He said he categorically said it. He categorically said it. Maybe we should look for the videos and someone play it later. He categorically said it. Mike Guinness said it as well. So I'm mentioning names. It's not like I'm giving names from these are INEC officials. They still collect salaries from INEC. So it's not. So if they said all these things, why are they changing their stand? It's not about Atiku. Whoever wins or not is none of my business. But my own is that let the sanctity of the process be preserved. All right, we're not just doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for the future generation because we're setting standard. All right, you cannot collect billions of naira to conduct an election and use card reader. And you're telling us 3 months after you don't know where the information is. Or the information is in the cloud, find it.
Okay, it's been a very interesting conversation. Well, our fingers are crossed because this matter continues June 24. We will be watching, we will be waiting, we'll be listening. We will be outside the courts waiting to hear what comes out of this. Ugochukwu Ikeaka, a political analyst, thank you very much for speaking with us. Always a pleasure. Well, we'll take a short break and bring you our Plus report. And when we come back, I'll give you my take. Still from the electoral umpire, the body says it will conduct a review of the just concluded 2019 general elections. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, made this known in Abuja as he received a delegation from the United Nations led by the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, Mohammed Ibn Chambers. Professor Yakubu says the Commission is committed to engaging all concerned stakeholders in an effort to improve the electoral process and address shortcomings witnessed during the just concluded general elections.
Working with INEC, we understand very well that for them, preparations for the next presidential and other major elections, gubernatorial, etc., commences the day after the results of those elections are announced. And in this regard, the UN wants to be part of that preparation. We want always to see in what way we can be useful. How can we support? How can we facilitate? How can we be part of the process which strengthens the capacities of INEC to better deliver in future elections? It is very clear to us that if we are talking of consolidation of democracy, the stability of this country, the development of this country, it all starts being able to deliver peaceful, credible elections that have the confidence of the majority of Nigerians.
Long before the 2019 general elections, the Commission submitted detailed proposals for the amendment of our electoral laws in the light of my experience from the 2015 general elections and even the numerous off-season elections. We had a useful interaction with the 8th National Assembly. We also submitted extensive proposals for the improvement of the legal framework for consideration by the National Assembly. We were assured by the leadership of the last National Assembly that work on the electoral legal framework will be concluded by December 2016. Unfortunately, the process dragged on for so long and became even more difficult to conclude as the general elections approached. I want to assure Nigerians that, as always, we will start early. We hope to conclude the ongoing review of the 2019 general elections in the next 2 months. These reviews have become standard practice by the Commission and involve all stakeholders across the electoral process. Consequently, we have commenced debriefings with all our field staff to learn from them the successes and challenges we all faced in the planning and implementation of the general elections. We'll also hold extensive meetings with political parties, civil society, security agencies, the media, as well as other stakeholders as part of the Commission's commitment to the continuous improvement of the electoral process.
It's time for my take. Rochas Okorocha has been a controversial politician for some time now, and again, he stated that Igbo presidency doesn't exist. Although what he says cannot be proven, the reason he gave behind the statements might be worth taking note of. The country in general has to get its act together and truly be united. If you ask me, I applaud his advice to his southeastern brothers and sisters, but he needs to understand that statements like this can be tagged as some form of hate speech, and it can backfire sometimes, either against him or the country in general. And to INEC, I ask, where is the place of accountability? Why do you choose to be the stooge of anybody? Why would the electoral body or board of a country as great as Nigeria not have a server? It beats me. But I implore not only INEC, but all other government parastatals to remain independent and impartial, because when you become partial to a particular party or a person, you lose your standards and your independence. Well, that's all for tonight. Thanks for staying with us on Plus Politics. We'll be back on Monday next week, same time. Have a great evening.